The Wednesday week is sponsored by www.bentoria.com. That's BENTORIA.com.
There's a chance here, a great save by Turner from the clear. Might come a terrific goal by Sheridan.
Brexman against Jones. Get in.
You could have two goalkeepers in there that would have trouble saving that.
The Wednesday Week! Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the Wednesday Week, the Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm Lord Hillsborough, and with me on the line, first of all, we have Victoria. Hello, my darling.
Good evening, my lord.
Good evening. We have Mr. Fudge. Fudgy, how the devil are you, old boy?
I'm all right, sire. How are you on this fine, Guy Fawkes Eve? No, it's Guy Fawkes Day, isn't it?
Absolutely. James, how the devil are you, old boy?
Hello, very well.
And to complete our quartet, we have Eduardo. Hello there, the old chap. How are you?
Back once again with the Renegade Master, D4 damage with the ill behaviour.
Street knowledge. Right then, ladies and gents, we've got an incredibly busy show, so we're going to crack straight on this evening. And the first sort of thing, which seems rather a long time ago now, is Sheffield Wednesday versus Nottingham Forest. Ladies and gentlemen, what a fantastic game this was. It's another 3 points.
Well, you say we've got plenty to get through this week, Lord H, but, Wednesday's won. Wednesday's not conceded any points. What else is there to talk about? I mean, we're absolutely on fire. This is great to see. And I don't know if anybody saw, I think, it was a programme I watched. It may have been Football Focus, talking about Carlos's, about his genius. And what that prompted me to do was to go onto on Carlos's personal website. It's not been updated for the last couple of years, but has anybody seen this?
No.
I've never seen this.
Carlos,
It's like a walking CV, isn't it? It's an online CV, basically glamorising all of the great things that Carlos has done in his 3-week stays at every other club apart from Sheffield Wednesday.
Doesn't everyone have one of those? I have one of those.
Yeah, it's his LinkedIn. It's basically his LinkedIn, let's be honest.
Mine is like victoriascv.co.uk, and it's just that trashy. It's horrendous.
Well, when I start typing in Victoria into my shortcut bar, something else comes up.
Right.
When I went on this website, I love the way he peppered in pictures of Cristiano Ronaldo and things like that to make it look like he managed him at some point, and he name drops him a few times, so he's right up there with a Google search. But going back to Nottingham Forest game, he was, Carlos was revered as some kind of tactical genius, and I think it's starting to pay off. This is actually, it's genuinely great times to be a Sheffield Wednesday fan, and I, for one, would like to offer my apologies for being sceptical at the start of this season, especially when after about 3 games in, when we didn't win every game, when we had a bad run of form. And this is impressive. This is great. No, is everybody else excited as me?
I would also like to apologise. I said, I believe, at the beginning of the season that I didn't think Carlos would be here by Christmas, and I would hate to think that he wouldn't be here by next Christmas. So, fair play, Carlos. You proved me wrong. You have done bloody good job.
An apology from Victoria, my word.
It doesn't happen very often. That's the other half. Or James.
I would echo all of those sentiments. I think Carlos got it absolutely right. And it's quite nice to think that we're still not quite there, are we? We're not the finished article. We're still kind of 6-7 games away from everything falling into place. So this is us kind of at maybe like 80% of what we can achieve. I don't know if you guys would agree with this, but I came away after the Nottingham Forest match and I was thinking that was a bigger win than the Arsenal win, because Arsenal, they didn't really turn up. Forest was a tight game, and we could very easily have gone 1-0 down in the first half. We got a bit lucky. It would have been gutting if Jamie Ward had scored. It hit the wrong side of the post, or the right side of the post as far as we're concerned. And then I was sat there in the second half just thinking, This just feels like one of those games where we could play till 10 o'clock at night and not score. It's just one of those games where it's not going to happen. But then you forget that we've now got someone like Forestieri who can pop up 25, 30 yards out from goal and do something like that. And again, there was a bit of luck involved. The keeper should have saved it. It was a nasty bounce in front of him and it went in. But that was a massive win. That is such a big win. And the kind of game that last season we'd have done well to come away with a draw, but we'd probably have lost it in the last 10 minutes last season, a game like that. This season, we sort of, I'm not going to say steal it because we were the better team and we deserved the 3 points. But just when you start to feel like it wasn't going to happen, we pull something out of the bag and we come away with, one of the most valuable 3 points of the season.
The most pleasing thing, actually, about that game is that that's the first time that I think we've all appreciated that Carlos is a real tactical head. He set out to win the game, not just on force of will, not just on running hard. It's not like Megson. Not just we're going to run harder than anybody else. It wasn't even that we're going to, kind of take some of their players out of the game. It was that he was just completely confident that we were going to deal with whatever Forest threw at us. And the great thing was that Forest did their homework. It wasn't that they came not knowing what Sheffield Wednesday were going to do. They intentionally stacked midfield in order specifically to take Kieran Lee out of the game, to take Barry Bannon out of the game, to take Forestieri out of the game. And for 45 minutes, it kind of worked. We were all right. We didn't look in danger, but we certainly didn't have that kind of creative spark that was going to cause Forest any trouble. But as you said, James, last season under Stuart Gray, for probably 10 seasons before that, that's the sort of game where in the past we'd have mixed it for 45 minutes and then gone to sleep for a few minutes in the second half and conceded and ended up losing 1-0. The fact that we not only absorbed what Forest had, which wasn't an awful lot to be fair, but we also managed to work out what they were trying to do to stifle our creative instincts, and battle against that, triumph against it, and get a goal. That's all that matters. That we got the 3 points, but I actually think it was a real tactical chess game that we came out on top. And I can't think of too many times that we've done that in recent years. We've won games against better teams through kind of blood and thunder and wanting it more, etc. This was a really controlled performance, and the lads were really patient, and Carlos was obviously really patient. We made sure that we were still there to get the job done when the opportunity presented itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
This fixture specifically, genuinely, I love, because my brother grew up a Nottingham Forest fan, and one of my closest friends is a tricky tree himself. And about 5 years ago, I think I've mentioned this before, he said to me, right, we're going to have this little trophy. You've got this little plastic trophy, and we've etched into the side of it bragging rights. And in order for me to win the bragging rights trophy, Sheffield Wednesday have got to turn over, or essentially do the double every season. And 5 years he's had this bloody trophy, and this is the closest. I'm genuinely excited that I may end up with the trophy by the end of the season, and I'm very excited about it. What's awkward is, I say he's one of my good mates. We've kind of drifted apart the last 2 years, so it's going to be really odd me ringing about the blue going, do you remember that bloody trophy that you've not given me in 5 years? But I think you're right. I think Eddie, spot on there. I think it was one of those games where, they definitely had a game plan, but Wednesday actually took it by the scruff of the neck towards the end of the game. Towards the end of the second half, there was only one team going to win that, and that's something that is genuinely encouraging. I'm really excited. I'm genuinely really excited.
I think there were two teams going to win that. It was either going to be Wednesday or Jose Semedo and Dexter Blackstock for their amazing acrobatic performances all the way through the first half. Semedo literally carried him up the pitch, and it was beautiful. Their lines were incredible. They were pointing. Lem would have given them a 7. They were fantastic. And I think there's got to be a mention as well for the 2 red cards that should have happened. Any ideas, guys?
Oh, they weren't red cards, were they?
Well, no, I'm just starting a debate, James.
Well, I must admit, I mean, on a football pitch, you can't raise your hands. I mean, there was obviously a difference between the way the two players reacted. Obviously, first of all, Mr. Piggy Ward rose his hand to Semedo, and Semedo stood there quite happily with his hands on his hips, because even if he had slapped him full pelt, I'm sure it would have probably broken his hand. And then, of course, Oliver, go on, help me out with the pronunciation here. Olivieri. Thank you very much. Trying to kiss, shall we say, Mr. Poodle, and Mr. Poodle dropping like a stone from an aeroplane.
Poodle he just fell. I
did.
think, and people always kick off about stuff like that, but if you're not expecting it, and you think back to Kirkland, 2 seasons ago, last season, against Leeds, when he got punched and he just decked it, and you think back to 15 years ago, Paul Alcock with Di Canio, if you're not expecting it, you are going to go down like a ton of spuds.
And that's because Paul Walcott would look like he was in the middle of some kind of pirouette. He had his leg behind his other leg.
No, but you would, wouldn't you, if you're not expecting that sort of thing, because you're not allowed to do it. It's not allowed.
With Neil Warnock. Did you ever see the post-match interview to that, where he went, well, the goalkeeper's made an absolute meal of it and gone down like a sack of potatoes. Like Kirkland's tried to get their fan booked. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. It's true, but you do react more. If you were in a boxing ring, you wouldn't react to a punch like that. But if you're in a situation where you would not expect it, if you're walking around Meadowhall, or if you're just casually doing your day job, like on the pitch, and someone just comes up and decks you, of course you're going to go down. And I genuinely think the second offence against Poodle, was a sending off.
I just think they'd have ruined the game a little bit, and you're probably right. By the letter of the law, they probably are.
I'll punch you next week. Then we'll see what happens.
The whole of I'll send you off. The whole of football can just be a little bit sensitive to stuff like that. You know, I don't think there was any particular kind of intent to hurt in either of those incidents. I watched them both back on that awful Football League show, and just thought just something and nothing really. It might have spoiled the game. You know, we won that game fair and square, not because of contentious decisions, but because, you know, we were the better team and we scored the goal and we won the match. And it's I was sort of pleased the fact that they finished with 11 men, because then they've got nothing to blame it on. They've not got that kind of option to sort of say, it's because the referee did this and the referee did that. You know, they could have finished the game on with 9 men. Yeah, sure, of course. But you know, as it was, we won fair and square.
Well, we did, but I'm glad. I agree with you, James. I'm glad they've not got a scapegoat. But I've got to read you here Dougie Friedman's comments. It's wonderful. He says, "We have a lot of injuries, but I refuse to use that as an excuse for the result." Well, don't bring it up then.
That's a good point.
No one even asked you, Dougie.
Nobody asked you, Dougie. Nobody's gone, what about them injuries?
God, Dougie, just go home. Go home.
He's such a prick, isn't he?
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Going through this Nottingham Forest side, what happened? They used to have some really, really good players. I mean, I remember when back in the days of, it was about 4 or 5 years ago, where they were pushing QPR for that automatic promotion spot and then fell away. The season Blackpool went up, if I remember rightly. And they had some cracking championship level players. Like I remember Chris Gunter was outstanding at fullback, and Dexter Blackstock was scoring for fun. You know, they had some top enders, and they used to have Radoslav Mijewski, who was for all intents and purposes a luxury player. But now I'm looking through their lineup, and it's just poor. I mean, Chris O'Grady, rubbish.
Wasn't Olivieri, if I remember, wasn't he meant to be like their big name sort of signing?
He was their marquee signing.
He was their huge signing, and he was shocking on Saturday. That's not even like a judgment against any sort of player or money wise or whatever. He was terrible.
They were a great team, weren't
they? He paced the pitch. He was not interested whatsoever. He had one of the worst attitudes I've seen in a player since God knows when.
So next week on the Forest Week, we'll be talking about Nottingham Forest. What do we care? They are a middling championship team, and we put them away. Exactly what we were meant to do at the start of the season.
I just thought he looked awful. I thought if I was a Forest fan, I'd be really pissed off. If I was
a Forest fan, I'd be really pissed off because I'm a Forest fan. So, no, knackered. They're back in their box. You know what? They brought whatever it was, 2,500, 3,000 or something like that. It's been too long. that we've been looking up at them and going, you know what, they're always challenging, blah blah blah. No, they are rubbish. A really, really poor team. I actually think that we let them off lightly with a 1-0 victory, and so therefore we move on.
Can I just say it was quite nice to see the reaction that Chris O'Grady got?
Yes.
That's that point. Secondly, great substitutions by Carlos. I know he is a tactical genius, and we learned that now. But I thought his substitutions were the right players at the right time. And finally, there were a ton of contenders for man of the match because I think everyone played well. But can I give a special mention here to Glenn Loovens, because I thought he was outstanding. And I've been worried about Glenn Loovens. I've been worried that he's gone a bit, that he's lost it a bit. He's looked a yard off the pace. He's not looked himself for the last few games that I've seen him play. And he was tremendous on Saturday. He was my man of the match. I thought he was fantastic. There we go. However, before we move on from Nottingham Forest, we have got the feature that you've been waiting for, our drunken interview from Saturday.
Shut up. Yes, is it back? It's back.
It is back. It is back. Before we do it, I think me and Vic need to say hi to someone, because we got chatting to a guy called Mark in the Riverside pub after the match, who is a big fan of the podcast, listens every week, and he was absolutely lovely. And we chewed his ear off for about an hour, I think it was, altogether, didn't we? He was a top guy, although he did refer to me as the posh one on the podcast, which I'm not.
I love that we've actually got a member of the aristocracy on this show, and you're the posh one.
Yep. Well, there we go. Emitting my Chris Kabara voice. But on to the drunken interview, which was in the Riverside pub after the game, and me and Vic were told that there was a group of guys who had travelled quite some distance to be at the game.
We're in the Riverside Cafe Bar. James is here, Victoria.
Hello.
And we have two gentlemen with us who've come, well, quite a distance to be here today in Sheffield. Tell us who you are.
Per, from Sweden.
Patrick, from Sweden. And I've got to ask you, why are you in Sheffield today?
It's a long story, actually. I turned 30 last year, and all my friends collected a lot of money to a football trip to Sheffield, my favourite team since I was 10, 11 years old. And well, today was the day.
And here
we are, yeah.
So everyone that's with you is on kind of your trip with you?
Yeah, we're five from Sweden.
So I've got to ask, why is it Roland Nielsen? Why did you enter
actually not. I've got Nielsen on my back.
He does. He has a Nielsen shirt on.
but it's actually Claes Ingesson. Who just play one season in Wednesday. Because I was 10 years old when Sweden took the bronze medal in the World Cup 94, and Ingesson was my favorite player. And after World Cup, he signed for Wednesday. So I checked in the newspaper to see did Ingesson do well, and then he left for Bari, I think, in Italy. And I think, Sheffield Wednesday. And that's about it.
So you followed Wednesday through the years after that. How many times have you been over to watch Wednesday?
It's the first time.
It's your first time too? So talk us through your day. How did you find it?
It was magnificent. Speechless. It was great.
Was it what you expected it to be?
I didn't know what I was expecting, but it was really cool. Really cool.
And how do you think we played today?
Quite well. I mean, Forrest had some good moments in the match and some challenges, but I think 1-0 was the right result for the match. Just a lot of chances for Wednesday, and so I would like to see a few more goals, of course, but I'm very happy with the victory.
And you must be cursing the fact that you didn't come here on Tuesday. A few days earlier.
I watched the match back home in Sweden on TV. And thought, Arsenal, it's fine to see the game, but I never expected that result. It was like, what's happening?
So how long are you staying in Sheffield?
Tonight we arrived yesterday, so we spent one night here, and then tonight, and then tomorrow we go to Liverpool to see Everton and Sunderland. And then we go to Sweden in Monday afternoon.
So do you think you'll make a regular thing about of coming over now?
We actually talked about it because cool to come over to see a few matches every season. Now we've done the first one, and it's not the last.
So I've got to ask your friends, were you happy to come over, or did it kind of drag you along?
No, we were just happy to come along. It's great. Good friends, alcohol, football, funny.
Has he made Sheffield Wednesday fans out of you now? Are you a Sheffield Wednesday fan?
It's Liverpool all the way for me.
Yeah.
So who do you guys follow in Sweden then? Do you have a local team in Sweden that you follow?
No.
That you support?
It's Liverpool.
I have a local team in Sweden called Brage in Borlänge in Sweden. It's a third division in Sweden right now, so it's not so good for the moment, but they have quite a history. So we're hoping for a better result for them.
Okay. And I've been asking everyone this season. What do you think, having seen today, what do you think the team that we've got now is capable of this season?
I'm hoping for the playoffs. It's just 1 point ahead of playoffs right now. I think we watched the table. And I hope for a playoff. And I think that this team is capable of it, because it's like 10 matches in a row without a loss, right? So I'm hoping for a playoff.
And if we get to the Premier League, I bet these guys will come with you every game, won't they? So
I hope so.
If we play Liverpool, we expect to see you back here, yeah.
Or here.
Yeah.
I bet you're wishing for a Liverpool Wednesday game in the Cup when the draw took place this week. That would have been perfect for you.
We'll be here then.
So there we go. Me and Vic now have some new Swedish friends. It was a real pleasure to meet them. They were lovely, and they'd had such a good time as well. And really keen to come back over again. So thank you very much to them for sparing us 5 minutes of their time.
I want to thank you, James. Sorry, Lord H.
Oh, fire away.
I want to thank James for staying relatively soberish. I mean, that was an after-game interview. I mean, he's still. I mean, yes, drunken interview, yes, but I've known you a lot more drunk than that, James.
Yeah, well, I genuinely wasn't too bad, and Vic, you were all right as well, weren't you? We were, in a decent.
We were
state.
okay. Yeah, I think we were fine.
Well, can I?
It went wrong later on, but at that point, it was all right. Do you know what I was going to do as well? Is I was going to tweet from the Wednesday Week account saying, exclusive interview with someone that travelled to the match from Sweden after the game. But then I found out that Roland Nielsen had been the Sheffield Wednesday guest of honour. And I thought, I can't do that. Everyone's going to get excited thinking we've interviewed Roland Nielsen, and we haven't. It's just some bloke that's come over for the game.
Think of the numbers, old boy.
I was going to say that's not a bad thing. I mean, Christ, I advertise 79p drinks on a Tuesday night for the students, and when they get there, it's only an apple sours. Do you know what I mean?
For 79p, I'm coming to your club.
Come down.
Right, so again, fantastic if you do see James knocking about muffless at the moment. We'll come on to that a little bit later, but please do give him a tap and have a drunken interview, and you could be as famous as we are on the Wednesday Week podcast too.
I like the phrase give him a tap, so definitely if you see me out, tap me up.
Actually, Lord H, at Charlton on Saturday, James and I will be there, and Eduardo, you're there as well.
I am indeed.
We will have we'll be there doing a video diary. That's what's happening on Saturday. You're going to actually get to see us. We're going to have a video diary. We'll pull the audio from it, and we'll just drunken interview each other by the sounds of it. But if anybody does want to get involved, keep a lookout for me, Eddie, and James, and we'll have the branded mic as well, looking a bit showbiz and a bit swish, and get involved. I want to hear your thoughts.
Not the branded mic, though.
Not the one.
A cheap shit version that won't work
rubbish.
as well.
It's an OXO cube sort of wrapped around the microphone with Fudge's Tipexed the Wednesday Week on the side.
It's going to be beautiful.
I feel at this point we need to launch our GoFundMe page. James?
So the background to this is me and Vic now have got quite into the habit, haven't we, of doing these drunken interviews in the Riverside pub after the game.
We do.
And, we enjoy it. It's fun. And we do them just with our iPhones, dead good quality and all that. But people kind of walk past us thinking, what are they doing? Just talking into a phone with people. So we thought you can actually buy these little things that go over the end of your phone. That first of all, they improve the sound, so you don't get that, that noise. You don't get that kind of popping, and they also allow you to kind of put some words on it, so you know who it is. So we found that you can buy these things that go over. They're called like mic shields that go over your iPhone. That you can have. Yeah, it is called a muff. I didn't want to use that word. I'm trying to keep it family audience. Trying to keep it clean.
Willie's
big bumhole.
I don't feel this is going very well.
Keep rejecting. You're doing a great job.
Right, you can have these made in blue with the Wednesday Week logo in white. However, they're not particularly cheap, and we also have to get them imported from the Netherlands, which will take forever because they're all stoned. So it's not an easy process, and we tried to have a bit of a collection between us. We're a bit tight, we can't afford it. So what we decided to do, and what Vic's done today, is set up what's the website called?
It's www.gofundme.com/Wednesday Week.
So basically, it's going to cost us about somewhere in the region of £300 to get these things done, and it's not essential, but we thought, well, let's throw it out there and just see. If you're a regular listener to the podcast, it's free. If you enjoy it and think, you know what, I'll give them a quid, a couple of quid, a fiver. If you want to just throw a little bit of money in, and if we can raise enough, then we'll get them, and you'll then know who we are. You'll be able to point and laugh at us in the pub or in the street, and you'll make a very sad man sat here quite happy. So there we go.
So in summary, if you want to help us import a lot of excellent Jamaican sensimilia hidden inside microphone muffs, then this is your chance. We promise to definitely puff give. We're not messing with the rotation.
I think the main thing to remember is that a lot of people think that we either do this for like money or whatever, because obviously we're sponsored, and we literally charged our sponsor the same amount as what it costs us to host this podcast every single season. We don't get any money from this. We really genuinely need some sort of equipment to make it better. The more people complain, the more we need the equipment, but unless we can buy it, we can't make it any better. So please get involved. Like, you've listened to the whole podcast for like 5 years. What's 2-3 quid?
Give us your fucking money. No,
stop it. Don't make it sound like we're begging. It's just like
it's just like we've got full on Live Aid. People are dying right now.
We've
got in the Porsche.
Don't moan that
we're
it's
gonna have a
shit
power
and then not give us any money towards the microphone. That's the main thing.
It's not for us. It's for you, the public.
Well, let's crack on with the football, shall we? We had the visit of the league leaders to Hillsborough, and I must admit I was a little bit cautious about this one. Brighton have been a decent team. Of course, their unbeaten run does include quite a few draws and things in there as well. A bit of a footballing chess game, this one, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was a chess game. I think I was texting a few mates who weren't at the game on Tuesday, and they were saying, 0-0. Are we threatening them? Do they look better than us? Do we look better than them? You know what? It was kind of, without it being real end-to-end goalkeepers pulling off saves, last-ditch tackle stuff. It was real heavy hit after heavy hit stuff. It was two really good football teams playing football the way that they are being coached to probe at each other, and neither team were gonna give an inch, and neither team were gonna make a stupid mistake and risk everything. It was just a really good game of football. I don't think we'll get another 0-0 like that this season, because I don't think there's too many better footballing teams than Brighton, and right now I don't think there's too many better footballing teams than us. So our boys were prepared. They weren't going to take a step back. There wasn't going to be a mistake. Every tackle was right. Every bit of positioning was right. We did our best to unpick them. They did their best to unpick us. Eventually, it was a stalemate, but we had a lot of 0-0s last season, and you could have run them all back to back. In fact, you could have run just the highlights of them all for 90 minutes, and it wouldn't have come close to how good that game was on Tuesday, because that was quality football played by two really, really competent sides. And you know what? I don't want to tempt fate, but it's almost like you could imagine at the end of the season, both of those teams will look back and go, you know what? That night at Hillsborough, we discovered what it was to be a really good football team, and we understood where the level of quality was in order to get out of this division, because it was very impressive.
Bang on, absolutely bang on. I've heard a few people say that it was a bit of a boring 0-0 draw, and I'm like,
oh, never.
It was a fascinating game. It was a really interesting game. Two key things for me from it. One is if you compare that to when we played Middlesbrough early in the season, who I think were more or less, I think they were second in the division when we played them. Another one of the favourites to go up this season, and they pretty much ran us ragged, didn't we? We weren't in it when we played Middlesbrough. To see how far we've come, that we play the team that's top of the table and we can match them, and arguably we could have won that game if a couple of things might have just gone in our way. The other thing as well, and I'm not kind of big into stats, but I think this is really interesting one, and this is a statistic that I've worked out myself, which is that there's 3 games this season that we've not scored in, but we've not lost any of them. The 3 games that we've not scored in, we've not lost any of them. So we kind of think of Carlos as being this, very attacking kind of gun-ho sort of coach who's all about scoring more than the opposition, and defensively that we've weakened a bit with him compared to with Stuart Gray. But he's good at, if there's a game where we're struggling to make the breakthrough, I think he's good at making sure that we don't give away a silly goal towards the end and lose the game. And I think that's something that's quite significant as well.
I agree entirely. And I think for me as well, Brighton have actually surprised me. I thought that the teams to look out for this year would have been Derby County and obviously Middlesbrough. I'd have thought those, and Burnley obviously as well. But if I'm honest, Brighton have surprised me because they had a woeful time under Sammy Hippier. And Chris Hughton, big fan of his, lovely guy, approached all that nonsense that happened at Newcastle with great dignity. But it's not exactly set the world alight wherever he's gone. And I thought he'd end up sending Brighton into mediocrity. Now, whether they're in a false position now, I don't know. But I was genuinely impressed because they genuinely seem to be doing very well at the minute, and they're playing good football. And Sam Baldock, for example, their top striker, he was banging them in for Bristol City when they were rubbish, and he was still banging the goals in. So he's a proven Championship striker, and we turned up and we ground out a result, but not ground out one. It was as you say, it was a stalemate from what I heard. So because I mean, if you listen to it on Wednesday Play, it genuinely sounds like the most exciting game in the world. But even then, they were saying on there that it was one of those great games of football that nobody will remember as a great game of football, and I think that's a great way of putting it.
Well, I mean, as much as I love Stuart Gray, and I'm sure we all do, do you think if Gray had the same players that were playing last night, do you think he'd have had the tactical nouns to, well, basically get a point out of that game, or would we have just got battered?
It would have probably been a 0-0 draw again, wouldn't it? But it would have been a very boring 0-0 draw because we'd have played 9 at the back. That's what Stuart Gray did. Start if you're starting with a point, don't lose that point. And I think Carlos approached it differently, cautiously attack, and if we can get something out of the game and get a win, then let's do it. But don't go hell for leather to try and get that winner, which we didn't do. But we were pretty attacking in the second half. I think the first probably 15 minutes of the second half belonged to us. Then I think Brighton had a spell where they looked on top, and it was kind of backs to the wall a little bit, and we really got to see their quality. I think under Stuart Gray we wouldn't have had that 10-15 minutes where we look on top.
I think another note to mention, I remember my point, by the way, clean sheets, and yet another clean sheet, and I believe it's Leuven and Lees. I saw something pop up about clean sheets the other day, and I remember thinking I better make a note of that, and thus didn't, and now I've got to this point of dead air.
Can I add some praise onto that for Sam Hutchinson? Because I was watching Sam Hutchinson quite closely on Tuesday night. That's a different story.
He is pretty.
And he's a lovely young man. And the work rate that he puts in, his willingness to drop back and join Lees and Louvens and effectively become a third central defender when he has to. And, then we'll win the ball back. And next thing you know, he's there right bang in the middle of the midfield, taking a pass, holding it up, passing it on, keeping the move flowing. How he covers as much of the pitch that he does, considering the fact that, we have to acknowledge the fact that he's pretty much crocked as a footballer forevermore. He works so hard, and I thought he was phenomenal on Tuesday, absolutely brilliant. And just watching the way in which he goes about his defending, and then, how quickly he gets back into his midfield role was superb.
It really reminds me of the Sheridan and Palmer axis that we had in the early 90s. It really seems to me that in Kieran Lee and Hutchison, we have that absolutely perfect blend of like a real aggressive, terrier-like, kind of spoiler type midfielder, but also allied with a player who doesn't, John Sheridan never got scared of getting in on a tackle. He was a box-to-box midfielder in the traditional sense, but his role was very much to create, whereas Palmer's role was to destroy. And Hutchison and Lee they found that same dynamic where you get, Hutch will drop that little bit deeper, do the dirty work, and then play the simple ball. And Kieran Lee will always be there with one eye on, on pushing forward, on creating something that, maybe not for himself, but creating something for the players further forward. It's such a crucial part of football, especially when you're playing that kind of traditional two central midfielders. It's such a crucial part of what makes a successful team. I can't think it can be underestimated. I take your point, Fudge, that we've got Lees and Louvens, and I think that, I don't know whether it's a record, but the stats where they've played together something like 36 times, and half of those have been clean sheets.
I think it was something like that. We've kept 4 in the last 5 games. Just
insane that. What ridiculous! What a turnaround for us as Wednesday fans to be talking about a centre-back pairing who keep a clean sheet 1 game in every 2.
I think it's also worth pointing out the fact that those 2 were in Stuart Gray's squad, and I think even Palmer's now a fringe player to some extent. But you've got players like Kieran Lee, Lees and Louvens who are and Westwood who are essentially they're the only players left that are getting into this squad. And I think that's how good they are, because we've obviously bought better with all the tuna books that we've got. And we're signing players like, with the outstanding for us, Barry Bannan or Bannon. How would you pronounce it?
Barry Bannan!
I quite like Bannan.
That sounds like a terrible DJ in a foreign nightclub.
It does, doesn't it?
DJ Barry Bannan.
I like Bannan. I've been saying it tongue-in-cheek for that long. It's now stuck. Do you know what I mean? You say it. It's now become the way I say it.
It's DJ Barry Bannan. We're playing the Scissor Sisters tonight. Fill the dance.
Shabba. But yeah, those 4 remain. I think it's testament to how good those 2 are, that they've come from Stuart Gray's squad and stood the test of time.
Just while you mention Barry Bannan, I know we're probably going to mention him later on, but
Bannan,
he won. Sorry, Bannan. He won Player of the Month this month, didn't he? The vote on the Wednesday website, which I think was really well deserved. But on Tuesday night, another player that was just brilliant, and someone posted this brilliant thing on Twitter on Wednesday morning, which was a photo which was captioned Barry Bannon's heat map from last night, and it was basically just like red for the entire pitch, apart from some little corners of green in the 4 corners. He was just brilliant, wasn't he? That guy works so hard, and he must be shattered because he's been playing every game, and he'd not been playing regular football before that. So I don't think we can praise him highly enough.
About half an hour after the game had finished, I was just browsing through Twitter, and someone had gone, on my way up the M1, and Barry Bannon's just overtaken me running. I was like, yeah, that's the game that he had.
Fantastic. Right, so I mean, obviously looking at those last 2 games, I think 4 points out of the last 2 games. Are we happy with that?
Yep.
Very happy.
Absolutely.
Didn't we say? Was it James said not just before the Saturday game? Said if we got 7 from the next 9,
yep,
then happy days.
7 from 9 would be phenomenal, and Brighton was always going to be the one.
We're on course for that, so I'm very, very happy.
Actually, James, now that the supermarkets have started playing Christmas songs, does that mean you're going to look at the league yet? Or
nope.
It's fast approaching. It's fast approaching.
No,
And-
it's bad.
But it's good. Just have a look. It's awesome.
See, that's everything that's wrong with the world right there. We said no looking at the league tables until Christmas. It's the 5th of November. It's not Christmas.
It is Christmas.
It's a bit Christmas.
It's always Christmas in Victoria's house. Right. So, yes, fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. One quick last thing to mention. No yellow card for Hutch.
Boo! Cost me a fortune, it did.
Well done, Hutch. Good man.
Completely ruined yellow card bingo. Right, so let's crack on. So yeah, absolutely fantastic, brilliant week all round actually, and let's move on to some Wednesday news, shall we? Who would like to open our news today?
Well, my lord, didn't you go to the Wednesday fan zone doofer this week?
Something along those sorts of lines.
Is that the official title?
What's it said above the door? Absolutely.
I think so. So, don't you have anything to tell us from that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, plenty. But no, certainly. Basically, it was a fantastic evening. Carlos and Mr. Chansiri were happy to open their doors, shall we say. I mean, the biggest shock of the evening was Mr. Chansiri's English, which is just brilliant. Far better than my Thai, put it that way, and turns out he's quite a comical chap. There was a few questions. Obviously, the question of ticket prices raised its ugly head, as it always does at these sort of things. And he had a little laugh and a joke and made a few serious points and said that, well, we're not going to raise the ticket prices for the home fans and just for the away fans. And of course, there was a polite chuckle around. He also got asked the question, where do you think the club's going to be in the next sort of 10 years' time? And he said, well, by that time my son will be 18, so he can be the manager of the club and take over there. He mentioned all sorts of things. He was just a thoroughly nice chap all round, and yeah, he was absolutely brilliant. Luckily we got to ask a question from the Wednesday Week podcast as well, so in fact let's get Carlos to answer himself. Carlos, before the Arsenal game you mentioned that we had a 10% chance of winning that game. Now, was that comment for the benefit of our players or our fans to keep our feet on the ground, or the benefit of the Arsenal players so they'd be off kilter when they got there?
Chairman knows the strategy. No, because he knows, yeah. Because I contacted the chairman before the game against I think you don't mind if I said this. I contacted the chairman. I said to the chairman, Chairman, I talk with the players today. They know what I will do. Today in the site, it's not normal that in the site I talk before or out of the press conference. I spoke with Trevor and I said, Trevor, I want to give a message in the site that. First of all, Joe will play, and at the same time, we have a lot of injuries in the team. So we have some problems in the team to this game, and our focus is completely in the championship. We give these matches 2 days before. Next day, we have the press conferences, and I said to the chairman Chairman, I will say that we have a lot of problems, that we'll put the boy on the goal. And I will say that we have 20%, maybe we'll put them a little sleep, maybe if there are some doublets to put some players, maybe they feel that we are weak, and they don't bring the best players. But this, I'm lying. We don't have 20% of the chances, we have 50% of the chances. Okay? But this is my strategy, if you agree with this. And I said, okay, I think it's a good strategy, so we do this before. But I don't think that the coach of Arsenal eat my understanding. Because immediately when we said, because maybe it's normal that you don't pay attention at this formula, but after, when I said that Joe Will Smith will play, and I put this information maybe some hours, maybe 3 or 4 hours, the information from Arsene Wenger is that Peter Shea will play on the goal. So he gave an answer that will go that strong. So when I saw that, it's okay. Okay, they will be with the best players that he understands in that moment. He preserve some players, but he give a message also that I will put Peter Shea because Peter Shea will play. Correct, Trevor? It was like this. But to answer your question, it was a strategy from our part. I don't feel that we have 20% really. I think in that game we have 50% of the chances to try to win the match, and we have. Okay, we did. We do very well. We did very well, and we win.
Yeah, so there's an answer. It turns out Carlos and Mr. Chansiri are crafty little so-and-sos together, ladies and gents. The cooked up the whole plot about the deception, and I quite honestly, I think it's utterly worked on there. Of course, was other things mentioned too. Obviously, there were various questions throughout that. We can't possibly go through them all. But one of the things that actually seemed to get the most interest on Twitter was when Mr. Chansiri was asked about financial fair play. He gave a little bit of a long answer, but basically, towards the end, he just said, financial fair play will not be a problem. We have friends. Which is either wonderful or terrifying.
I enjoyed that.
I think most of us are thinking, he's got a real clever idea around sponsorship. He's from the Thai Union Foods. They're going to put some money. How good would it be if literally he's just going, I will eliminate all opposition
for $1 million. I like the way you said that there was a myriad of questions, and was there a few stupid ones like where people put their hand up and went, "Do you know John West?" And how do I get the mud out of my gutter? Stuff like that.
Well, not quite so much stupid questions. I mean, there was a cracking question from Nigel Short about asking making sure that we sign Barry Bannon for the next 10 years, which got a round of applause as well.
Was that Nigel? Bloody hell!
Oh, you couldn't keep him off that. He was standing up every 2 minutes. Nigel was standing up trying to ask a question.
Ridiculous. Shock horror.
Has he got hemorrhoids? Is that why he had to keep standing up? Sorry, Nigel, if you're listening. My apologies.
And yeah, there was also another little question about a chap who seemed to be getting really sort of deep into the tactics and asking Carlos if he always plays a big man up front or if he likes to sort of mix it up a little bit. And basically, are you going to play Hooper and Forestieri on Saturday? And it all came out. And to be honest, I mean, both Carlos and Mr. Chansiri came across incredibly well. And I think everybody that went that evening, I'm sure if you have a little look around on the Twitters and things as well, everybody that sort of came away from that came away with a sense that the club is in really, really good hands. And there's just so much going off behind the background. We just don't have a clue.
Everything was really light-hearted and kind of good-natured, everything like that. There were just a couple of times because there were maybe... what do you reckon, Your Lordship? You reckon maybe 4 questions that were to do with ticket pricing and the kind of commercial for the fans and stuff like that? And Mr. Chansiri, I actually think he played a real straight back to it. I think at first he was kind of, he kind of brushed it off and he made some jokes about it, made a bit light about it. But then later on, I think he actually just set out his store. And I really appreciate the fact that he was straight with the fans, where he just basically went, you know what? I've come here. I've put a lot of money into the club. I want to put even more money into the club, and what I'm asking from the fans is a little bit of commitment. And he even called a bloke out and said, you know what? If you have a few less beers before the game, you can probably come to the game. And you know what? I don't necessarily think that is a blanket statement against all Wednesday fans, but unbelievable that, the guy absolutely understands what his role here is. And he's even saying, he's thrown it out there to us, the fans, and saying, you know what? You're asking me to believe in Sheffield Wednesday, right? You know what? I'm gonna, but I need you to show that you believe in me as well. And that does, like it or not, come down to us putting our hands in our pockets and and shelling out for match tickets. And I think one of the telling things was, I think he admitted that he thought that more fans would buy season tickets, and therefore the high match day pricing would actually be penalising the away fans. rather than the loyal fans of Sheffield Wednesday. And, I think the club is doing what it can do to try and make that situation a little bit better. And I don't think we'll have that situation again. But, hey, you know what? Right. The message came through loud and clear, didn't it? He is going to invest what it takes, but he needs the Wednesday fans to show belief in him that he can go and show an awful lot more belief in this project.
Well, he's turned up. He's put his money where his mouth is. I mean, the money we've spent at the Championship is obscene, and I think it's a fair point you brought up about season tickets. I genuinely think that we have 3 phases of season ticket prices, don't we? And I think when the first phase comes out, I think we'll see a spike. I genuinely think we'll see a lot more people going, I'm on board this. I'm all aboard the Gus bus. Let's get involved.
I mean, one of the really sort of poignant things I think Carlos said as well is obviously he went through the achievements we've had this season so far. Obviously beating Newcastle, beating Arsenal, the football that we're playing, the way that the team has cohesed eventually, etc., etc. And if Wednesday fans would have been asked 3 months ago, bear in mind this is 3 months' work that's been put into this, not 3 years, not sort of Fergie reign or anything at all. It's just 3 months' work. And if somebody had said that to you 3 months ago, that would have achieved this and beat Arsenal and beat Newcastle, would you have been happy?
We're never happy.
Yeah.
And it really sort of pushed it on to me of what's happened in such a short amount of time. It's just incredible. It really is. And that's why I came away from the evening just full of beans and just cannot wait for the next, not just the next 3 months, but the next 3 years, the next 10 years, hopefully, with these two guys in charge.
I think you've got to, a lot of people have made this point, you've got to compare it to like what's happening at Leeds right now. And it's Leeds, so we don't care. We're quite glad to see them in this mess. But if it wasn't, let's imagine it's a different football club, you'd look at it and just think, it's kind of scandalous. And, he was going to sell to the fans, now he's changed his mind, he's going to stay. And you just think that's a club that's just a mess. It's an absolute mess. You compare where we're at compared to where Leeds United are at, and you just think, do you know what? We are in an absolutely brilliant position to push forward from here. You're right. We're only, a few months into this project, and it feels like it's going well. Yeah, there'll be some rocky times along the way as well. Of course there will, and there already has been. But compared to other clubs in similar situations, I think we're just doing brilliantly.
Absolutely. Right, so let's crack on with the other bits of Wednesday news we've had around about the place this week. James?
So, Fernando Forestieri winning the Championship Player of the Month. Again, we have the great irony of the fact that he didn't win our Player of the Month, but did win the Championship Player of the Month. So that's two months in a row now that we've won that. So we need to pick who we want to win it for November, because then they definitely will. I think Barry Bannon will go for, shall we, for November. But I think Forestieri has been terrific. Barry Bannon's been terrific. I think both of them deserve that recognition. At the same time, though, it sort of feels bad, doesn't it? That you sort of think, well, surely Kieran Lee deserves something this month. He's been brilliant. Surely Hutch deserves something. Tom Lees, he deserves something this month. We need to start having several Player of the Month awards to kind of account for everyone that's good. I think that's the only fair way of doing it.
What we need is do you remember when you were at primary school and you had sort of a little certificate that you could bring home every day if you'd been a good boy? We need a daily Player of the Day that Carlos can hand a certificate.
That's it, Player of the Day. That's a great idea. And just one other thing from me, which is resurrecting the old tweet of the week. And I have to say here, credit to Sheffield Wednesday fans. Last night on Twitter, as Bayern Munich were playing Arsenal, there were a number of very amusing tweets related to our victory over them just 7 days prior. The one that I particularly found funny, mainly because it was probably the first of the quite funny ones that people put, actually came from Bet365 and read simply, this was when Bayern had just scored their third. So the tweet just read, Bayern 3, Arsenal 0, Guardiola's men proving to any doubters they are every bit as good as Sheffield Wednesday.
And who can disagree?
I just thought that was brilliant. So that's my favourite tweet that I've read this week. Oh, I've got one other thing as well that I was going to mention, which is, again, a tweet that I saw that got me thinking. Apparently yesterday was the anniversary of the Kaiserslautern home game in the UEFA Cup back in 1992.
Oh, amazing days. Heady
It just got me reminiscing again. And you know, the people that I go to the football with weren't around then. They're too young to have gone. And
I was
for
3.
anyone that wasn't there, if you imagine, like, you know, how fired up it is for the derby games when we play Sheffield United, not a patch on what it was like that night when you've got the Kaiserslautern fans with their flares in the away end, the Wednesday fans with their flares in the home end, and we felt so aggrieved from the first leg about David Hirst being sent off, and so angry about that game, and we were so up for it. It was the best atmosphere of any football game I've ever been to. Brilliant.
You know what? Kaiserslautern turned up and it was like, I predict a riot. Ruby. Incredible. Absolutely incredible night.
I've got a bit of an affinity with Kaiserslautern. When I was growing up in the north, and I grew up in a place just outside Dinnington called Lawton and Lamorvan. And we used to have a five-a-side team at what was then called the Pits in Sheffield. And my five-a-side team was called Kaiserslautern. Come on.
That's impressive. That's impressive.
Kaiserslautern. What?
You know what? I had a five-a-side team a couple of years back in a five-a-side league as well. Ours was called STD Eindhoven.
Wow.
Aptly named.
My current dream team one is called 2 Goals, 1 Cup.
I'm desperately trying to find sound effects that work for these, but I'm struggling.
I don't understand what you're talking about there. Sorry.
You know what? The best thing, wrenching it back on topic, the best thing about that Kaiserslautern game, the best atmosphere that I've ever been in at Hillsborough, bar none, right? There was actually only 30,000 fans there, and that was before the Kop was seated, right? So it wasn't even a full ground. It was probably the equivalent of, you know, like when Huddersfield come to play now. Can you imagine like a really angry Huddersfield game? That's effectively what it was. But flares and it was amazing.
I think Kaiserslautern should put that on their tourist board.
Well, like a really angry Huddersfield.
Like a really angry Huddersfield.
Right then, ladies and gents, let's put the Wednesday news to bed, shall we? And let's look forward to the Charlton game. Of course, we've got our Wednesday weekends going down. We do need to think of a better name for ourselves than this.
I'm pretty sure people call me weakers every time I go to some kind of weaker when I go to the game.
We've got you going down there, and again, Charlton are. I can't see anything other than they're just rolling them over at the moment. I think I'm just that full of beans.
Oh, therein lies the danger, doesn't it?
Yeah, Charlton are a bogey side of ours.
Well, Carlos did mention the other night that one of his jobs is to keep people's feet on the floor. So I think my feet are starting to sort of lift a little bit. I might be getting a little bit sort of 7-0 on this one.
Yeah, why not?
So from my point of view, I think what we need, just belt and braces. I don't think we'll have trouble beating Charlton. I think if we can sign Leroy Lita on loan, just as an emergency loan, let's get him in, we'll put him on 70 minutes, and he'll just finish them off. Whatever the score is, he'll just finish them off. So,
I think what we actually need to do is to sign Beastie on loan, so we can send him down on the train, live tweeting, and then if we lose, at least we've got something to look forward to.
Actually, Charlton is synonymous for two things for me, and the first one is Beastie trying to get down there and bemoaning the entirety of National Rail. I mean, the tube system and the train system that people use in London, that millions of people use every day, it were their fault. And the second one is Jermaine Johnson taking a shot. I don't know if anybody remembers that.
I remember that.
Awful.
I
think it's still in orbit now with Chris Waddle's penalty for England.
You know what?
Most of Jermaine Johnson's shots still in orbit.
So, I think we've been doing the Wednesday week for a while, and we've got a bit of mythos around it. And you know what? The Charlton away game, Beastie's Charlton away game, I think can be summed up with one soundbite. And I wish we recorded them all, and we could just play it out now. But I'm going to try and approximate it. Was Beastie had got so drunk that he didn't know how to get to the ground. He got on a train, advised by a local, and about half an hour into the game, so 3:30 p.m. on a Saturday, where Wednesday had kicked off at 3, Beastie found himself in, and I quote, chuffing Swanscombe. Swanscombe! Swanscombe! Chuffing Swanscombe! We love you, Beast. We love you. You're always welcome back here. My plan, the only thing that I want to do this Saturday is make it to the ground and not to chuffing Swanscombe.
A part of me wants to go to Swanscombe, have a photo took,
a pilgrimage,
and then go to the ground. I think that might be a plan. But yes, us three are going to be down there. So if you are down there, come and say hello and call us weakers like you normally do.
I think in terms of the match, I don't know if we would expect all that many changes. We've got an international break coming up, so I think maybe there's a couple of players who are just starting to feel a bit leggy. And I think we did see a couple that were a little leggy on Tuesday night. He could probably still get away with risking them for another game. Might see a couple of changes. I would expect to see Hooper playing this game. I think it might be his sort of game, and you would hope that he is approaching match fitness now, and he'll be so hungry to get out there and score that it could be a good opportunity to give Zhao, who did look tired on Tuesday, and give Ati a bit of a breather and play Hooper. Other than that, it's weird, isn't it? It feels like it should be a relatively straightforward win, which scares the hell out of me because they're the kind of games that we normally lose. But as you say, Carlos is very good, I think, at keeping people grounded. He's very good at the way which he makes his teams approach the game. We could have had exactly the same last Saturday after beating Arsenal. We could have gone out and lost to Forest, but he did what he needed to do. And, I think he'll do the same this Saturday.
Do you feel like is he playing the press again? So last night he made a point of saying Gary Hooper is fit, but he's not fit for the way we play. And he talked a little bit, didn't he, about players coming in, and it took them a while to get up to speed, not only with the speed of which we play, but also the philosophy around how Carlos wants us to play. Do you think he was just swinging it out a little bit there last night, saying Gary Hooper's not ready, and he's going to turn out and play a full 90 minutes? Because he didn't play at all on Tuesday, did he? After coming on Saturday, didn't play at all on Tuesday. Is that a bigger sign than what Carlos is saying? I don't know. It's an interesting one.
I think there is an element of truth to it. I mean, bear in mind the type of football that it would have been playing before. It definitely doesn't fit in with the way we play, and I think there is an element of truth to how fit Gary Hooper is. But I mean, it took Lucas Yao a few weeks to settle in, and I mean, look at Darryl Lackman. I mean, with him carrying that around, I'm not surprised he's not running around.
We've been doing little other than looking at Darryl Lackman for the last few weeks, haven't we?
Can I praise Charlton for one thing? And I'm quite looking forward to seeing it. I love this. They have a surfer at the side of the pitch. And every week they select some people who are season ticket holders who can go and sit on this pitch side surfer and watch the game sat on a settee. I think that's brilliant.
This is football. It's not the big breakfast. What's going on? Johnny Vaughan and bloody Chris Evans turning up next. What's happening?
Where are you, Mark? He's on the left wing.
It's Squeaky McLean. Where is he? What's he doing? Target reference there for those of you that love the big breakfast.
Yeah.
Right, so let's put that to bed, and we've just a few sort of little other things to mention before we go. Firstly, we've been contacted by the Cop End over there on Facebook. Just to mention that they've got a bit of a competition running. Just to give them a bit of a shout out for this, we've got 2 adults and 2 kids tickets for the Birmingham game on Boxing Day, along with a bit of a Christmas hamper full of Sheffield Wednesday goodies. And if you want to get involved and get over there, it's one of the things that's been sort of passed on to them from the club by the new steering committee over there at Hillsborough, sort of getting the fans involved and sort of in the day-to-day bits and bobs of the club on there. So yeah, please do pop over there to the Cop End and have a little look and grab yourself some tickets on there too.
I'd also like to do a shout out to Sergej Odstrom, our Swedish-based Owls fan, that was the first to donate to our cause to get these lovely microphone covers, and also for getting Victoria's engine running.
Sergej, you are on the list, big time, top of the list.
I think the next.
So beautiful.
Well, I noticed that you put a Twitter poll out, Victoria, that said Victoria would or Victoria wouldn't, and Victoria would. Did win
Definitely.
That. Quite. I think the next one should be Darryl Lackman or Serge Odstrom.
Ooh.
Well, we'll just get
Serge.
Twitter to pick it for you, Vic.
Let's save this for an international break, shall we? Because this could be a long-running feature.
That'd be very awkward. He's so beautiful.
When is it that you get married, Victoria?
A year and a half. Yeah, it's fine.
Plenty of time.
There's loads of time yet. Come on, Serge, move over.
Yeah, so I've got a couple of things that I'd like to mention. The first one, they're both kind of charity appeals, if you will. The first one is for a friend of the show, an avid listener, and also a friend of all Wednesdayites, who is a gentleman by the name of Steve Basford. Right?
Go on, Steve.
You may know Steve Basford. You may have heard of him. You certainly, if you're one for either the social media to do with Sheffield Wednesday or certainly Owls Talk, will have read Steve Basford's thoughts. Steve is a Wednesday fan through and through. He is a disabled Wednesday fan. He was unfortunately run over by a bus when he was a boy, and as a result has several disabilities, but that hasn't stopped him from being possibly the most committed Wednesday fan that I've ever met. He's always in the Wednesdayite lounge. His mum and dad for years and years have run the programme stall outside the shop Wednesday Superstore. And Steve has got many passions. Strictly Come Dancing is one of them. Sheffield Wednesday is another one of them. The Generation Game. Bucks Fizz, he's a huge Bucks Fizz fan.
Yeah.
But also... Oh, yes. Well, we're making our mind up right now.
Listen, Steve, I have got a signed copy of Bucks Fizz's album.
Steve would die.
Signed by Bobby G himself. Cheryl Baker wasn't available at the time. Neither was Jay Ashton or Mike Nolan. But Bobby G...
Can you send that up, Fudge?
I'll give it to James on Saturday if you want.
Oh, brilliant.
That would be
love that.
Amazing. That would make Steve live.
I'm a big Bucks Fizz fan.
So one of the other things that Steve absolutely loves is horse riding. Horse riding is something he's done since he was a kid. Horse riding is something he does now, which is great for his kind of physical rehabilitation, but also, kind of socially, it's something that Steve really enjoys, and it's something that he shares with a lot of his friends. So Steve wants to give something back, and so he is doing let me get this right, a fancy dress show jumping competition to raise funds, split 50-50 between Children in Need and the Sheffield Disabled Riding Association. So
fantastic.
Steve rides with Sheffield RDA, and they provide the horses, they provide the facilities, they provide the volunteers to help. It's children and adults of all ages to ride and enjoy their passion. Steve has decided he wants to raise some money for this charity who's done so much for him. We set up a Just Giving page a week ago. In that week, we have raised over £1,000. I would also like to give a massive shout. Yeah, we've gone over the £1,000 barrier tonight.
Oh my God!
That's
incredible. That's amazing.
Which speaks volumes for how much Steve is loved in the Wednesday fraternity. But also a massive shout out to Paul Holmes and the Wednesdayite guys, because they have agreed to match fund every penny that Steve raised from £500 up to £1,000. So there's an extra £500 that's going to go in from that. So currently, Steve has raised £1,000 on Just Giving. He's got £500 match funded by Wednesdayite, and he's raised £600 with the old style sponsorship form with family and friends. So given that the Sheffield Riding for the Disabled Association, their organisation costs £9,000 every year to run, Steve is close to raising almost a third of what that organisation needs to carry on providing the services. Unbelievable.
Yes,
what a hero Steve is. So
well done, Steve.
You could say he's done that well, he's in a land of make-believe about it.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely 100%. And you know what? Steve has actually been trying to get contact with Cheryl Baker and Mike and Jay in order to get some sponsorship and to get the word out there. So if any of you know Bucks Fizz or any other 1980s celebrities, Steve would really, really appreciate the help. So I'm going to give you
WWE people.
Or anyone from WWE, because he loves his wrestling as well. In fact, he's going to be doing his fancy dress show jump in a Mexican wrestling mask, believe it or not. So serious bit, JustGiving page, justgiving.com/Steve Basford. So that's BASFORD. Go there, have a look at the pictures of Steve doing his riding, see the messages that he's been left. It's absolutely brilliant that Steve has been able to do this. We're in awe of him. So any fans of the show who haven't already donated, please do that. It's a really good cause. Yeah, so that's enough begging for me from now. I've got one more piece of it's charity, but it's a little bit different. I noticed on Twitter this week that David Gold, who is the owner and I believe co-chairman at West Ham, he retweeted a charity appeal from one of West Ham's fans saying, can you please retweet to raise awareness for my brother who went missing a few weeks ago? And so David Gold, being the good high-minded citizen that he is, he retweeted the picture of this guy who'd gone missing. It was only later that he realised that he'd actually retweeted a picture of Mikhail Antonio, who since signing for West Ham has mysteriously gone missing and nobody's seen him since. How funny is that? Can you imagine?
Right then, ladies and gents, so that'll bring an end to this week's show. James, if people want to get hold of you over there on the social medias, old boy, where can we do that?
Yep, track me down on Twitter. I am at James Marriott. That's RRT. I'll be somewhere in London with Fudge and with Eddie on Saturday, drinking monstrous amounts of beer and making fools of ourselves.
Make a nice change, oh boy. Eddie, if people want to find more of your sausage-based nonsense, where can we do that, Holby?
As always, Twitter at Sausage Arms. I'm at Charlton. You're going to see, for the first time ever, because we don't appear in the same room together, me, James, and Fudge.
Yes.
So you watch out. We're going to have branded microphones. We're going to be wearing caps. There's probably going to be, in Greece where the T-Birds have their leather jacket. I'm thinking it's not too late. We could probably knock something up, couldn't we?
I was thinking if we could just, if we made ourselves stand out, we'd just wear some, I don't know, blue and white striped shirts or something.
Yeah, that'll work, won't it? People will spot us. You see, South London, blue and white striped shirts, that's us.
Easy.
Fudge, if people want to get hold of you, when they're down there, old boy, how can they do that?
I'm on the Twitterings at Dan Fudge. Send us a tweet to the TWWcast or to at Dan Fudge on Twitter, and we'll come and we'll mine's a lager.
Fantastic. Victoria, where can people find your online-based nonsense, my darling?
Well, my lord, I'm at Victoria1867 on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, wherever you want to find me.
She's hiding in Daryl Lackman's locker most days.
It's funny because it's true. Of course, if you want to get hold of me over there on the tweeters, you can do that over there at Lord H. That's L0RD_H. If you want to follow the podcast, you can do that too at TWWcast. If you want to send us an email, you can do that at twwpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, please, ladies and gents, do continue to like the Facebook page. We had a fantastic response to us asking just to click that little like button, look down at your phone or on your computer now and just press like, and it was brilliant last week. Thank you so much to everybody that did that. Of course, please do the same over there on iTunes or whomever your podcast carrier is. I've been told off this week because of course not everybody is using iTunes, so I apologise, ladies and gentlemen, and of course everywhere else you see us too. Thanks ever so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure as always. Be good, be safe, and we shall see you real soon.
Chance here, a great save. A turner from McClare. Mike Hunt, a terrific goal by Sheridan.
Brentman against Jones. Get in.
You could have two goalkeepers in there that would have trouble with saving that.
Somebody asked him the question. Who's masturbating?
Not me this time.
I am, but
Someone
I'm
asked
on
him who's
mute.
masturbating. That's a really inappropriate question to ask the chairman of the football club.
Who is masturbating?
What, now or just ever?